Nobody can cause mental pain to you. It is you, in reaction to something that happens around you. It is time you take away the nonsense that's happening within you. Once your intelligence is against you, there is no force on the planet or anywhere which can save you. Right now, people's idea of success is they're doing better than their neighbor. No. Your idea of success should be that you are a full-fledged life.
In one word, your most important core value, what would you say it is? What's up, Believe Nation? New format today. We are heading to go interview Sadhguru. He is an Indian mystic yogi on a mission to change the world. A top 10 was the first video I did on him, and before that I had never heard of him. A bunch of my audience asked for him, and I said, okay, let's look into this guy. And he had a really interesting message, so we made the video. It exploded, got 2.5 million views, and he was in Toronto last night doing his Mystic Eye event that Nina and I attended. 6,000 people filling the convention center, and he gave us some time this morning, early Sunday morning, -5 degrees outside. He wants to do an outdoor interview, so we're gonna go meet him downtown and see what kind of knowledge he can give us. Welcome everybody, special YouTube interview. I'm very honored and blessed to be here with the legendary Sadhguru. Thank you so much for spending time here. He has an event happening in Toronto. It was an amazing event last night. 6,000 people showed up, and he's got to run to another city, more adventures, but made a few minutes for us this morning. I had a whole bunch of questions ready for you, kind of going in, but after experiencing your event, I thought I'd maybe quickly lead off with something a little more personal for me. Because it was, you know, mind-shifting kind of being at that event last night. You did this activity where, to get us awake and energized, you had us close our eyes and you counted to 3, and then we had to yell, lose our inhibitions and let it all out. And that idea of kind of losing control and losing inhibitions, for me personally, has actually been a challenge. And I was hoping to get your perspective. I have never done drugs because I don't want to lose control. I fight roller coasters because I don't like losing control of the body.
Am I supposed to believe all this?
I'm excited for your perspective. I don't know why it came up, because last night I did my best, but it's always been a challenge or a struggle for me, and I'm just curious to get your perspective.
Nature has imposed substantial amount of restrictions on life. You can't just zoom off into the space. There is enough restrictions. You don't have to invent your own restrictions on top of it. So if you invent your own restrictions, slowly over a period of time, you become a constipated life. That means life won't happen easy. It happens in small happenings. So being in a state of abandon, not out of control, being in a state of abandon means all the stops that you have put on yourself, you pulled it off. Nature's stops are still there for your safety and your well-being. But why are you imposing stops? There's enough. Gravity is holding you down, that's bad enough. Now you want to hold yourself down? Why? Because fear. What is the fear about? The fear is always about, if I do this, I may suffer. So that is the fundamental of my work, to bring you to a place where there's no fear of suffering, because there are only 2 kinds of sufferings that you go through, physical suffering and mental suffering. When we say physical suffering, there is pain in the body. Unfortunately, the truth is, if there was no pain in the body, most human beings would have destroyed themselves, mutilated themselves. See, already you have done, see, wherever there is no pain, you chopped it off, right? There's no pain in your nose, I'm sure. In the name of fashion, you would have cut it into ribbons.
Right.
If there was no pain in the body at all, maybe you would have pulled out your intestines and walked on the street, it would look jazzy. Looks grotesque. But believe me, if there was no pain, people would have just destroyed themselves, cut them into bits. Right now there is pain, that is what is keeping them in one piece. So, physical pain is there, but the fear of suffering is not just about pain, the fear of suffering is self-inflicted. Nobody can cause mental pain to you, it is you. In reaction to something that happens around you, that you cause pain to yourself. If you have half your brain removed, then you would see, you would be quite peaceful. Right now people are going through stress, anxiety, depression, misery, all kinds of things. You can give it any number of exotic names that you want, but essentially their intelligence is turned against them, that's all it is. Once your intelligence is against you, there is no force on the planet or anywhere which can save you. So the fundamental thing is to bring this, that all the faculties that we have should work for our well-being. Right now, our own body, our own mind, our own emotions are working against us. This one thing has to be fixed. This is the mission.
And I love it. And bring it to entrepreneurs. That's a good core of my audience, people who want to start their own business. The spiritual side of bringing that into a company, what advice would you have for somebody who's starting their own company and how to do it in a well-being way?
See, the nature of activity doesn't really matter. Whether you're doing business or sport or music or art, it doesn't matter what you're doing. The important thing is, you must be a full-fledged life. So if you are not a full-fledged life, in the sense, if your body, if your mind, if your emotions, your intelligence do not cooperate with you, what kind of enterprise are you going to do? Just survival business. If you just make a few bucks to survive, that's it. That's not what enterprise means. Enterprise means constantly to step into new terrain, that's what it means. If you want to step into new terrain, tell me, is fear a very supportive emotion that you can carry with you?
Right.
No, you will always look for the familiar. When there is fear, you always look for the familiar. When you look for the familiar, there is no enterprise. Maybe there is some retail business.
The idea that you talked about last night was if you get too entangled or entrapped or something versus being involved in something and having a little bit of space to breathe and the freedom in that. Could you maybe expand on that?
People are always thinking that something else or somebody else is restricting their freedom. But once freedom is lost simply because they are tangled up with their own body and their own mind. These are two dimensions of you, two faculties. Unless your body and your mind is fully in your hands, if they're continuously working for you, never against you, only then you can live a successful life. People have approached inner well-being either with belief systems or philosophies or ideologies or some wacky ideas of their own. It's time to approach your inner well-being in a scientific manner. As there is science and technology to create external well-being, there is a whole science and technology to create inner well-being. That is what we calling as inner engineering, technologies for well-being. It is time that you approach your inner well-being also in a scientific, systematic way and employ technologies to create this well-being. Everything else you're using technology, you understand that technology can facilitate everything on the outside. Why don't you understand that the best piece of technology on this planet is this human mechanism? Unless you approach it properly, it will not yield. Living here as half a human being is not good enough. Right now, people's idea of success is they're doing better than their neighbor. No. Your idea of success should be that you are a full-fledged life, because this is not my idea, this is not my philosophy. This is the longing of every life, every worm, insect, bird, tree, animal and also a human being are always striving to become a full-fledged life. But we know what is a full-fledged worm, we know what is a full-fledged insect, we know what is a full-fledged apple tree, but we don't know what's a full-fledged human being. That's where the problem is.
What do you recommend as habits for people to incorporate on a daily basis to feel that way?
See, everybody is looking for tidbits of life. Give me 3 points with which I will make my life, one mantra with which everything will be solved. That's not how life is, it's a comprehensive process. The simple way to look at it is like this. Today you know because of medical sciences that your entire body, in a way, is a chemical soup. The question is only, is it a great soup or a lousy soup? So if it's a great soup, then it tastes wonderful for you and tastes wonderful for everybody around you. If it's a lousy soup, then you have to manage with presentation. When the chef is bad, he decorates it.
Right.
These days food comes with flowers on it. Never ever outside situations will happen 100% your way. But what happens within you, if it's happening 100% your way, you will be in the best possible state always. You will keep yourself in the best possible way. Are you as good as somebody? That's not the point. Are you full-fledged? That is the point. You're not expecting the dog to fly, though he's wearing a Superman suit. Show him on the camera. Though he's wearing a Superman suit, you're not expecting him to fly, but you want him to be a full-fledged dog.
Right.
You want the bird to be a full-fledged bird. You want a human being to be a full-fledged human being. So, being in a state of abandon does not mean you abandon your life, you abandon all your stops, brakes. You driving all the time with brakes on is a silly way to drive, because fear is ruling you, not your sense. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you call yourself an entrepreneur, you're willingly stepping into unknown territory, that's what it means. With brakes on, you can't drive like that.
And what's the fear of?
Suffering, in some way. Fear of failure, fear of this, you can call it many names. Essentially, you fear that you will suffer if things don't happen the way you think they should happen, isn't it? Outside things, if you lived long enough like me, you know outside things will never happen the way you want it. They'll happen to some extent, but what's within you must happen the way you want it.
You told a story of a man who had wings but never used them to fly and just reproduced and had a life, and isn't it a tragedy that he never used his wings to fly? Do you feel like most of us are walking through life with wings and we never use them to fly?
Unfortunately, yes, a whole lot of people, too many people. It's time that human potential is unleashed, because we are the first generation on the planet for whom our survival is organized better than ever before, ever before. So this is the time to unlock our potential, to lose those all kinds of inhibitions and fears that we had. There was a time, if as much as a cloud gathered and lightning and thunder happened, we thought God was angry with us.
Right.
Okay? All those things are gone. It is time you take away the nonsense that's happening within you, and the entire process, the science of inner engineering is just this: how to work at it in a scientific manner, not with philosophy. I can tell you 1,000 times, give up your fear, it's not going to go. But if your chemical soup is blissful, there's not even a idea of fear in your mind.
It reminds me of your concept of the movies. You play the movies in your mind, you can choose a drama, you can choose a horror story, or you can choose a positive movie and not get stuck in the same movie forever. You can turn it off and start a new one.
Yeah, but for that you should know where the switches are.
Right.
You are like a supercomputer, but you haven't found the keyboard yet. Time to find the keyboard. That's my work, to give people the keyboard to their supercomputer.
I love it. For people who maybe this is their first exposure to hearing your message, they want to learn more, what's the next best step?
There is a simple online possibility, 7-day program, which they can do. And after that, there is a day-and-a-half event, which always happens personally with me, where they get, introduced into a very powerful practice, which changes the basic chemistry of who you are. In 4 to 6 weeks, you can find a significant difference in the very way you function. And today, millions of people across the planet have taken this. Somebody was estimating, some media people in India were estimating, till now we've touched somewhere near 500 million people. And
It's crazy.
that is largely by people taking it upon themselves. If you even look on the net, you will see most of the videos and material is transmitted by people, not by the foundation. People are doing it because they found it so super beneficial in their life, it's transformed their life. They want it to happen to their friends and their family, and that's how the entire process has grown.
Great. Well, I know you have a plane to catch. I really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Final question, in one word, your most important core value, what would you say it is?
Clarity.
Clarity. I like it.
If you don't see things the way they are, whatever you do is going to be a mess.
I like it. Thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
My hope is that for entrepreneurs watching, just to add a different side, just to learn a little bit more about the spiritual side, and just give people a different flavor. So all the follow-up questions were mostly for the audience, for you guys, right? To be able to learn a little bit about what I learned last night and hopefully hear it in his own words and not mine. The first question I asked was about me being not having abandoned or not being able to, like fighting roller coasters and not doing drugs and letting loose. So I don't know, what am I afraid of? What's the suffering I'm afraid of? I don't know, I haven't figured it out. I got some thinking to do, got to meditate on that. Anyway, I appreciate the time and the answers, and hopefully you guys learn something from it too, and opens a new perspective. Maybe there's something that you take away and want to pull on that thread a little bit more. I think that's the key part. If you get just a hint of an idea that this might be worth exploring, that's all you need. You just need the seed that could lead to a life-changing moment. It doesn't all have to make sense, but a little piece, little tiny nugget that you want to digest, then just think about it. If it kind of made sense to you, you want to explore it, think about it, spend some time on it, and who knows, maybe your life changes.
So let me give you the one-word secret to happiness. One word. This is all you need to be happy.
The most important word ever.
If you had to think of one word that's most important to you, or that sums you up, or that would be kind of like a little beacon.
Hey Believe Nation, if you want to know what the most important one word is for Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Oprah Winfrey, will.i.am, and Howard Schultz, I have a very special secret video for you. Check the description for details.